everyone says we will see this wave of down rounds. And then I saw this tweet from Albert Wenger at USV, and he said he's only seen 2 down rounds in his career. Obviously, he's a very gifted investor, so that might be part of it. But I was kind of looking at that going, they are so damaging. They are so impactful on company morale. Will we see the down rounds or will we not?
I think this time we will. I mean, look at what Stripe has done, right? If you're telling me every company from 2021 is better than Stripe, sure, there'll be 0 down rounds. But if that's not the case, there may be some. But Albert, I think, had some great insight, and he's a fantastic investor, which is they are complicated. They suck. People don't want to do them. It's actually a little bit against like the nature or the psychology of a VC. You want clean things that go up and to the right, incentives aligned. And so fewer down rounds happen than probably should happen because VCs don't like them.
I totally agree. Actually a concern that I have actually, which is VCs with dry powder will keep on artificially inflating books and kind of stipend them to continue kind of enjoying the marks that they have. I want to ask, on the thread itself, you say about startups raising 2 years of cash in 21, 22, and needing to raise in 23, 24. Transparently, I have 50 companies, and I didn't have a single one raising until Q3 24. Now, that's not me like bragging. That's just like them extending runway and like making it work until then. Am I wrong here? Because I'm not seeing this need to raise in 23 now.
Well, first of all, if all startups in the US and Europe and abroad have cash through 25, like your portfolio, God bless. That's fantastic. And I can just, fly to Hawaii and sit on the beach for a while, but the data we're seeing coming across our desks, the data we're seeing at IVP suggests otherwise. We're seeing, I would call it a trickle, but like a noticeable uptick from Q4 in deal flow. And we saw 2 potential down rounds this week. So like what I tweeted in my thread, we have the data to back it up. I think it's a question, does it become a flood in the second half of this year and what happens next year? Fair enough. Those are predictions. But we are seeing the market correct in real time and companies begin to come back to market right now.
Can I ask, what does your data show? You mentioned the data there and you mentioned the 2 down rounds that you saw this week. What does it show you and what are you seeing from what you see internally?
I think you have to sort of cleave startups into 2 camps. There's the ones that sort of lived in a bubble somehow. Maybe they hadn't raised in 20 or 21, or maybe they're just coming up and raising, a Series B, let's say, for the first time, versus the ones that raised in 20 and 21 at artificially high prices. And there could be some hangover effect. So, in the public markets, software companies, multiples there have corrected to what we saw in 2016, 17, 18 to normal multiples. So the question is that happening in the private markets? And the data we're seeing, the answer is yes. We announced multiple deals last year in 2022 where they were priced at something like 10 to 15 times forward ARR. And that's just those specific companies. It depends on all the specifics of a company, of course. Pricing is an art. But those were like not dissimilar prices. That's about where things were getting priced before COVID. And so for these companies that don't have the hangover from COVID, from those valuations, say in 21, things are back to normal. And so then the question is, what happens to that cohort of companies that raised in 20 and 21? And that's the open question. And that's what we need to see. And we're going to find out.
Can I ask you, I mentioned my portfolio, I have some of these in my portfolio, but we see many companies who raised a lot and have monster valuations, some as high as 1,000x ARR. Proud to have 1 or 2 in my portfolio. What happens to them, Tom? Do they grow into it? They have 10 years of runway. A lot don't really have product market fit. What happens to them?
My gosh, Harry, if every company could have 10 years of runway, you've constructed just the best portfolio on earth. So first off, congrats again on that.
No, because they don't have product market fit, Tom. It can take a lifetime to find.
Okay, so we have a very special perspective, right? We do Series Bs and Cs at IVP. We invest post-product market fit. When we see that, we invest. Sometimes it's pre-revenue, but we need to see product market fit. And for that class of companies that's sprinting towards something, they generally raise 2 or 3 years of cash. And so they can cut and extend runway, but what happens to them? Listen, at some point you need growth to become a real company and not a zombie. So some of these companies, they're going to cut so much that they sacrifice too much growth, and maybe the product market fit isn't great, and they never figure out a way to hit the accelerator again and attract new capital, and they just go zombie mode, which isn't bad, but it becomes a lifestyle business. And maybe they pay their investors back or not.